I do have to say though that I often talk about my past life as a dancer is my secret weapon.
Well, that's what I said at the beginning.
Which must be the same for you.
Yeah.
Is this thing, your understanding of your own body, but it is the same for, I know I can't put you in that thing because I know what that will feel on your body when you do X, Y, and Z.
Today's guest is the incredible Ryan Dawson Laight. Ryan is a Olivier Award nominated and What's on Stage Award winning costume and set designer, working extensively in theatre and dance. His fabulous work can be seen in La Cage La Folle, Burlesque the Musical, produced by Christian Aguilera, The Nutcracker, choreographed by Drew McConey, and My Son's Queer, starring the fabulous Rob Madge. Please welcome Ryan Dawson Laight. Ryan, thank you so much for coming to Intimacy 360. I really appreciate coming from Brightown to here.
You're welcome.
My spiritual home.
Nice to see you.
I do love it. It's so good to see you. Okay, I'm going to jump in. Okay, so I'd love to know, obviously you had such a diverse career, and what I love about you as being a costume designer is that you come from a performance background, and I think that really, really is an interesting concept to have somebody who's now designing costumes for theatre and performance, but actually has that background. But I'd love to know, how do you interpret a script to establish the costume design for your characters, and then when it's veering towards the areas of maybe being revealing, what you can take into consideration in those moments?
I mean, obviously it starts with the script, and it starts with reading it, understanding it, working out the tone of a scene, the environment, what that means for an actor, what that means for who's going to be stood around. I mean, if we're talking specifically about costume that requires intimacy around it, you obviously start thinking about who's in the wings, what's behind somebody, what's around them. So those things are alive right from the very, very beginning.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah,
That's
course.
amazing.
I mean, obviously, fabrics become a part of the story. So I always start with kind of colour, texture, fabric sampling, and then kind of movement. So obviously I do a lot of dance and that's all about movement. But I'm really interested in seeing the body. So when it comes to designing certain costumes, I have to ask myself, okay, I'm interested in seeing the body, but how much of the body am I allowed for the audience to see, and how do I go about kind of making sure that does what I want it to do,
because that can shift and change the story as well.
100%. I mean, obviously, it's about it's always about the actor, it's always about the dancer, so it's got to come from them. And I think you have to be asking the questions: what are you comfortable with? Mm-hmm. What works for you? I'm talking a lot about dance because, dance does a different thing. Dance is all about shouldering legs and skirts spinning, skirts flying. Yeah. There's loads of
seeing the form of the body,
seeing the form of the
seeing
body,
the silhouette, all these wonderful things. So do you get much opportunity to speak to the cast before you start actually going into constructing costumes?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I try and find the time. So if we're doing a play, or if we're doing anything, I mean, for instance, I'm doing a play at the moment. There are 12 actors in it, and there is always the first call that I have with any company is to see them all individually and tell them what I'm planning. And so obviously that's about me sharing costume designs. They will have seen an overall design, which I will have done on day one. But then when they come in, I'm like, okay, I think it's this. And that can include, normally it's a kind of capsule wardrobe that I'm trying to put together for a character, so that when we get into the piece, they can pull from it in the same way that we shop. So the play that I'm doing at the moment has intimacy in it. There is a character in it who appears wrapped in a rabbit fur rug.
Okay.
And so
and that's all.
That's it. Okay. And they are to appear naked. And so obviously in that moment, luckily, right, for me, I have an actor who is very up for it, and very up for how we do it. She's not shy. Yes. That's fine for her. Yes. But that's not necessarily fine for the audience, and it's not fine for the other actors, or you don't know. Yes. But that version is better for me, obviously. Yes. And then there's loads of conversations about, we're going to need to put a strap in here and Velcro it here and do blah, blah, blah. But actually, when we got her in the room, what is the best way is for her to just wrap herself in the rug and just work out what and then we would work out what she needs.
Need any intimacy garments on underneath that subtle so you can't see.
Exactly. I mean, we've gotten to a place where we don't need that due to the staging of it.
Yes.
So that's a positive thing for us. But also, you know, she's led that conversation.
Which is incredible that you're having these conversations with the artist. And sometimes we can go in when we don't have conversations with artists and we think they're going to require this, this, and this. We can end up going over manufacturing and overdoing stuff.
Oh, 100%.
And then they go, no, I can just grab that and hold that there and I'm really comfortable.
Yeah, 100%.
And you go, okay, great. And if you need an intimacy garment underneath, nobody can see. Or if it's appearing that they're nude, the inference that it's nude, then sometimes they can be wearing a lot more underneath that the audience don't know.
Yeah.
But sometimes you'll get the reverse that they're inferring they're nude. And you say, would you like a garment? And I've had an actor in a production when I was working as the intimacy director, they go, no, actually I don't, because as my process, I want to feel naked.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you're giving me the option to have an intimacy garment underneath it,
Yeah.
or I could even wear shorts at this point,
Yeah.
but and be topless. But they actually go, no, I don't want to, because actually I feel like I want to be in that place as a character. Have you come up across like any costumes you've created where you've had actors advocate and say that's showing far too much of my body that I'm comfortable with? Have you ever had that?
I mean, an actor who is really confident with their body will he's almost creates the problem in the room. So what you it's not really about just that person. It's about all of the other people.
Absolutely.
So just the conversation is much wider in terms of like who you're asking permission of, and so really you have to put more things in place than you would normally. On a show that I'm working at the moment, there is a number in it called What Are Clothes, and it is a burlesque number.
Is this actually from the musical Burlesque?
Correct. It is from the musical Burlesque.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
out there now. Go see it, everybody.
Yeah. 100% go and see it. It is fantastic. But the number in it is it's a burlesque number, and so there is titillation in it. It is striptease. It is burlesque. It is
Wonderful.
vaudeville. It's all of those things.
Lovely.
But obviously, in the theatres that we are touring to, they have strict rules about nudity, and so we can't create a piece of work that has. And obviously, in a show like Burlesque, we create. My job is to create, you know, sex, titillation, nudity, storytelling through all of those genres, and you can't do that. So, you know, for instance, in that number, that's about choreography, and that's about. I mean, it's very traditionally burlesque.
Yes.
It's fan burlesque. It's striptease. It's those things where the choreographer and myself have conversations about how we do it, what we see,
what we can and
can't see, and what the audience will see. And some of that is about creating kind of new delusion garments, and some of it is choreography. But I would say, you know, without the kind of intimacy work that goes on around that situation, it could be quite tragic for the actor.
Yes.
Because they're not striptease artists, they don't work in burlesque, they're not vaudeville, you know, like none of those things. So,
and that's a real art form in itself.
You can see an actor when an actor is uncomfortable. So
or something doesn't feel natural to them. It's like when you see an actor on stage and they're smoking and they've never smoked a day in their life. You can just tell it. Because how many times they've practiced, you can tell they don't smoke in real life.
Yeah, definitely.
It's that sort of thing. And when you're asked to do something with your body that is out of your normal realm of what you do, it takes many hours for that to become comfortable and normal and normalised.
Yeah. I mean, no, I always talk to them about what I'm planning, which I've told you, but also what I think we can achieve, we're going to achieve through it. But the assumption, you know, it's all very well me going, you're going to look great. You do look great. You look really sexy in this. Sometimes those words are not useful to an actor. So you have to really choose how you kind of talk to certain people. Some people.
And what your perception of sexy is, and what that person as an actress, that what sex is then can be so different.
We live in a time where people and how they view their body is mostly negative, probably based on, you know, social media and Instagram and all of this sort of stuff. And so it's not useful for me to go in with what my version of what sexy is to them.
And when you create a show like this and you've created these beautiful costumes that you've liaised with the actress, you spoke to the director, you know, the scene's been created, maybe using an intimacy director as well. All these wonderful things happen. And then you get to, okay, we're doing a cast change. And then you go, okay, then you get the next actress who's playing that part, and they may have different requirements and boundaries regarding what they wear. How often do you see that where you go, actually, we need to put a panel in that now, that needs to change, does that happen a lot?
Yeah, that happens a lot. You know, new dancers coming into roles where body shapes are celebrated.
Yes.
So we're very much like an ensemble of people who are not your 6 foot thin, blah, 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 all of that sort. It's very kind of diverse in terms of shape and image. That's good, because then what that means is that there are no rules to it.
Yes.
I can change up it, and also we do, you know, like, it depends what the show is. I'm obviously talking about burlesque, you know. So for instance, you know, if a dancer leaves, then there is an opportunity for us to put another person in and create a different shape, as long as it's within the realms of what I've designed. Overall aesthetic, colour palette, style, then it totally
gives you free
cool.
rein.
But, you know, it's all very well me thinking that they will look great in it. And at the end of the day, I am the designer, and it is about my aesthetic, but it is also really important that I have those people on side.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Don't forget, you can follow me on Instagram and also on the old Tickety Talk. If you don't want to see this face, but you just want to hear my gorgeous voice and grab some intimacy on the go, you can get the extended audio version by following the links below. What impact do you think costumes have on an audience's perception of intimacy?
I mean, it depends on what they are. You know, sometimes I do quite a lot of queer work. That is kind of queer cabaret.
Yes.
You know, performative, contemporary dance, that sort of stuff. And quite often, you know, there are costumes that we're creating that kind of sexualize the body. So sometimes that's about like creating breasts or body adornment pieces or whatever. So that's that, you know, like I am working on creating kind of shape and form that enhances the conversation around sex, or tries to kind of demystify it. I'm working on a piece,
or for adding comedy, maybe.
For adding comedy, But how much comedy is too much comedy?
Yes.
You know, I did La Cage aux Folles at Regent's Park.
Yes, which you got nominated for an Olivier Award.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Which is incredible.
I wasn't nudging you for that.
I know, but the costumes were beautiful.
They were beautiful.
Like, beautiful.
They were beautiful.
Yes.
That's a big team of people creating and making those.
Do you have a team of beautiful makers, or do you design and...
I come up with the ideas, and then loads of people create around that.
Yeah, of
so
course.
So we were all winners, really. But there's Can in the middle of it, and the girls in the show, they had cod pieces underneath their can skirts, which is not normal.
No.
But it was just, I was playing with gender, and I was playing with you know, male or female, because Le Cage aux Folles does that, where you're like, is it a man, is it a woman?
Yeah, it's always.
And so I threw in these things where they got breasts and cod pieces, and there were a few comments about, you know, what that was for certain people.
Okay.
And it was to do with their own kind of perception of what is a man, what is a woman.
Yes.
And I get all of that. Obviously, I was only ever thinking of it theatrically and in a fun way, but actually, you know, there will always be somebody who is going to be less happy with some of the decisions you're making. But as long as you are making the right decisions, then, you know, hopefully those things don't come up.
And like you say, when you're creative and you're trying to like gender bend and all these wonderful things, like you say, you're never going to please everybody. The same as when you're creating a piece of choreography, or you're writing a script, whatever department you're working in the creative world, you're never going to please everybody. And you should never aim to, because I think the minute you start trying to please everybody is when we end up like playing safe.
I do have to say though, I often talk about my past life as a dancer is my secret weapon.
Well, that's what I said at the beginning.
Which must be the same for you.
Yeah.
Is this thing, you know, your understanding of of your own body, and what I mean. I'm mostly talking about kind of creating characters, but it is the same for. I know I can't put you in that thing because I know what that will feel on your body when you do X, Y, and Z. Do Do you know what I mean? So it's actually really useful.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about male costumes and female costumes because, I've shoved a corset on. I've shoved a skirt on.
I've seen you in
I've
heels.
done the splits in heels. I'm not shy of that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But having done all of those things, it's really useful. Just to say, I can't do any of those things anymore.
Oh, I'm sure you could. $50? High kick into... How do you find collaborating with directors and choreographers and intimate practitioners if you've had to? How do you find that process?
I mean, often, certainly with an intimacy director, the first time they will be seeing the costume design will probably be on day one of rehearsals, truthfully. And so from that moment, then on, which is approximately a month, we have an opportunity to go, okay, this could be problematic, or we need this to do this. And obviously those conversations just stay alive during the process. It's taken me quite a long time to get to a place where I fully understand what everybody needs in the room. And that is, it's not about my design. It's about collaboratively what we're doing as a team. It takes a lot to just, to suddenly, to have that click and go, I'm a part of the cog of solving, creating the work. So,
but also solving many little problems and needs and requirements and all these wonderful things. But it's so refreshing, right? I don't know if you know how refreshing it is to hear somebody who's like costume designers, creatives who go, it's not about me.
Do you know what? It's just a show, and
I know.
I know it's.
We get to go and make pretend.
Show. It's just a show. So let's make it as pleasant, nice as possible,
everybody.
and make a great piece of work. Where that is what I genuinely think. I don't actually think it's all about. I think this is the thing. I don't think it's all about me, and it's taken a while to get to that place where I can confidently say that.
It's refreshing
without and I in a room I say a lot. It's just a show. Nobody cares.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
And I think I've had the same experience as a choreographer over the years, like younger Ian choreographing to now, and I go, oh, I'm doing a lift, and that person's, it doesn't meet the requirements because the hand needs to go a particular place. Decades ago, I'd be like, we've just got to get on with this. I would never even dream of that now. How I've evolved and changed, and how I also go, as a creative, is it then not my job then to go, how can I get this aesthetic that I'm looking for and still tell the same story, but by working with your boundaries and your consent? And therefore, it makes me get more creative. And 9 times out of 10, they end up with something better anyway. Yeah. Because I've not just pulled on the usual kit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is,
I think collaboration will always bring out a better piece of work. 6 minds are better than 1 mind. Even though you can kind of lead and direct through aesthetic, other people's interruptions in that are very useful, I think. But you have to be a certain person to allow that to happen.
Those conversations to happen.
If you're not that person, you're not that person.
We've all been there where you're in the room and then everybody's collaborating and then one person's going, no. And how's your experience been working with intimacy directors?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another member of the team, right? It's, whether that's choreographer, director, actor, it's just another voice. But it's a voice that is more tuned to a certain thing. Yeah. But that's good,
Yeah, because I always have these conversations, because, as an intimacy director, the newest addition to, the teams, it's how you get received when you go into a room, because it's new for someone, especially when going to a new production, when you've got a choreographer who's never had a person before, or a director, and they're like, they don't understand actually what we do a lot of the time. I can't tell you the times that I've seen or heard that people have gone, okay, so my requirement is to have an intimate garment because I'm standing there facing, I've done a scene, I've got out of a bed, and I walk into the bathroom,
wrong skin tone.
And they're doing a rear shot, so the camera's only seeing the back of them, and they've asked obviously for an intimate garment, and they've not been given one that's their own skin tone. And I've heard actually of somebody in a wardrobe department then said, but it's not seen on camera.
Oh right, yeah.
And you go,
that's not great.
Missing the whole point.
I mean, there is.
And I have a problem with fabrics when it's called nude.
Yeah,
and
that's
one,
really hard.
and it's
actually.
one color, and it's nude. I'm like, well, that's not
Yeah.
that's not nude for that
Yeah.
person. That's not nude for that person.
Yeah.
Take the word nude away from fabrics.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, if you're buying stuff from, sometimes it is about that. It's about going and buying something either online or in a store because it's about solving a problem quickly.
Yes.
So that version is actually a lot easier now,
No.
based on the fact that somewhere like M&S will do
a full
range of whatever.
Yes.
And actually, if you're making any kind of flesh tone body mesh in anything, there's actually a range of about 50 different tones.
Wow.
In power meshing now.
Amazing.
I know this because Burlesque is very much that show where we've panelled quite a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And so the first thing we do is match skin tones with numbers on charts.
Yes.
And then
okay.
and then that's those things are ordered, sent to the maker, and they are like
Amazing.
brilliant.
And then if you have a cast change, then I suppose you can change out the paneling.
You just yeah. I mean, like, yes, but there is a skin tone for everybody on this,
Which is
show,
wonderful.
Which is good. It's really good.
It's wonderful. Do you ever read a script and think, okay, there's an intimate scene between these two characters, and do you take in consideration then maybe the fabrics that you use to try and help tell the story?
Yeah, I think
as far
about
as
that all the
relationship
time.
wise.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I'm interested aesthetically. I'm interested in certain materials. I'm interested in. I've said this before. Seeing the body underneath. So quite a lot of that is like chiffons and tools and kind of clear. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lovely. I did a piece where I made kind of clear silk dresses so that you could see all of the underwear underneath. So
and if you see the underwear underneath, do you then put like, do they have like another barrier underneath that, or do they wearing just that underwear, or do they have like, or they got like show underwear underneath that, like a flesh thong type thing?
No, this was a piece I did on Northern Ballet, and so
Okay.
it was a modern piece.
Okay.
And so they'd got underwear on that we panelled,
There you go.
panelled
Yeah.
the kind of lace part
Yes.
of it. It was very kind of detailed. Like, it's always better to be buying stuff than making underwear from scratch. I mean, like, you wouldn't do that,
Yeah.
but you can obviously embellish and make them feel stronger.
Yes.
But
Because also they've got to be washed 8 times a week, possibly. They go through a lot
I mean,
more.
like, that was very specific to kind of, very working with a very particular body and working with a very particular dancer, and just kind of telling that story of kind of, if it's new, it wasn't about sex, but it was just about kind of femininity and strength of women through movement. And it was it was about, this would be great if it was just in underwear, but the power behind it was giving them this layer and this barrier.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anybody you've been inspired by?
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of designers who some I've worked with since kind of,
Which is nice.
admiring their work.
Yes.
So that's obviously fantastic. But mostly my kind of love of, costume design comes from film and fashion.
Did you like circus and all that as
Yeah,
well?
I love
like
all of
clowning
that.
and
I love all
circing
of
and
that.
like, yeah,
I mean, like,
I remember you always having a real passion for that.
It ranges from kind of circus through drag, through fashion, through kind of, but everybody from like Tim Burton through to like John Galliano, who's like this incredible designer. And so I'm inspired by that. And those things filter into my work. But I guess mostly it's my own kind of, it's quite queer, the work that I do, I guess. Queery, draggy.
Yeah. For instance, you're in burlesque at the moment, right? So when you see like characters that are meant to be male identified characters, sexy, in that realm, what do you perceive as sexy? When you're creating them costumes and you're reading the text.
Well, with something like burlesque, you're constantly referencing the film. Because it's important that you're giving the audience the film.
You've got to give them a nudge to what they know from stage, from screen to stage.
Yeah, but obviously that film is 12, 16 years old. Something like that.
You forget how long.
And also we're setting it in now.
Yes.
So actually what in the one particular character who is perceived as the sexy, love interest, That is just about looking at what's going on the streets. That's
Okay.
about looking at people of a similar age.
Okay.
I'm obviously surrounded by, I live in the centre of Brighton. It's full of kind of art, young artists.
Yes.
A university of, studying art and blah, blah, blah. This it's full of musicians, blah, blah, blah. And so you're just...
Constantly keeping your eyes...
It's about looking. It's not
your
my
eyes open.
perception of sexy.
Yeah.
It's the perception based on the script
Script,
and what the
yes.
audience want to see.
Yeah.
But it's people get things wrong because they have no understanding of colour and texture.
Yes.
And so actually, if you can kind of create sexiness through this kind of...
Because you don't have to always show skin to be sexy.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Sometimes somebody can be covered up from head to foot and still be oozing.
Yeah, definitely.
Oozing.
Yeah.
And like you say, and also, you don't have to just be in like, a harness or, or if it's but that's, a harness and like, or shorts or showing all showing lots of skin to be sexy. There is elements of sexiness that just comes through, I suppose, the way that somebody wears the costume as well. I mean, you can put somebody in something that's not overtly sexy at all, and I suppose somebody can make that look sexy.
They will tell you if they don't feel sexy.
Yes.
And so I will do what I do.
That's interesting.
And sometimes that doesn't feel right for them. And so, but then obviously I have an opinion. I have lots of opinions
Yes.
on what lots of people wear, because that's my job. My job is to have an opinion on what we've created. And that spills into like real life as well. I will judge in the same way.
Well, I wore my brightest
You've done really well actually today.
I was going full on literally. I thought I'm going for gay flamingo.
Yeah, it's giving that.
Yeah,
vibe,
and do you like my new trains? That one side and look this colour, yellow. That's.
I do.
thought,
yeah. I said when I walked in, you look really expensive.
No. It takes a lot of money to look this cheap, as Dolly Parton said.
Yes, that is one of the hardest things. Is that I think this is going to look great on you. You're going to looking great in this, and they don't.
Yeah. So, it's an interesting battle.
And some of that then turns into I would like to wear less.
Okay.
So then.
Well, that's an interesting because some people go, I want to wear less because I don't feel whatever it may be and whatever their idea of that is. Yeah. That's a really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. That some people enable for them to get to where they need to get for feeling sexy. They may say, "Oh, I need more," or "I need less."
Yeah, it's just about listening.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming for Intimacy 360. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you, love.
Nice to see you.
You too. Mwah.
Hey, lovely people. Make sure you subscribe and like and press that notification bell to keep up to date with all future episodes.